Hey, my name is Zach Counts, and I'm a designer and illustrator. Today, I'm going to take you through my process of designing something or of illustrating something in Adobe Illustrator. So, like you saw, I just grabbed a sketch off the internet. A lot of times, I'll use Adobe Capture if I draw anything on paper and then bring that in, but this was so basic that I just went ahead and grabbed that, put it on its own layer with about 20% opacity. Speaking of layers, normally I do a sketch layer on top that I lock down. I also do a lines layer, a color layer, and a background layer. I pretty much do that every time. Sometimes I'll go in and put a layer above the color, like for highlights and shadows and stuff, but that's pretty much it. And so as you're seeing, I'm going in and I put in loose lines with just the pen tool. I didn't use any line profiles. I didn't use anything. Just to kind of get the shape, and then I kind of go and start putting in the stuff I know is going to be the big sections of black, like the eyebrows, anything like that. I like to start with hair and eyes. What else? Sometimes I'm not using as much here because I kind of know the kind of lines I'm trying to get, but a good, easy way to get lines that look very sharp and crisp is to use line profiles. That's under the stroke panel, and you can get a bunch of really cool effects just with that. But pretty much what I do is I just create shapes around the lines and frameworks that's already there. I just make all these shapes, and then I do combine them at the end. Like, I divide everything down and then with Pathfinder and then merge everything. But I'm just creating a ton of pretty much triangles, sometimes more complex shapes if I know where I'm going. So that's where you'll see like me just end up drawing a bunch of lines. It's because I've drawn a bunch of this stuff so many times that I just kind of know how I want the lines to drip. But if you're trying to get this effect for yourself, I would encourage just a lot of drawing in shapes and drawing in lines, and then experimenting with really like sharp edges coming off of it, to emphasize the things you want, like the robe, emphasize the way it comes down. So a lot of things you'll see, it's like me drawing a shape or drawing a line and then kind of taking white and erasing parts of the line to get really sharp edges and stuff, and it gets you a lot of like textured feeling lines, and like they're not very perfect. It feels very brush like. And so yeah, I kind of like use that and then also emphasize it even more by like having these little thin lines drop down. And pretty much the thought process behind that is just to make those look as liquidy as possible. But with that liquid, I'm trying to like also go around the curvature of the face. So I just kind of think of like it doesn't have to be perfect, just how would liquid flow down, and if you get it even kind of close, it'll look realistic. Right there, as you can see, I'm using the blend tool. The only thing I do different with the blend tool than probably most people is I always use shapes. I never use strokes, and I use like that way I can go in and edit and then move those triangles to be bigger, and that way I can easily adjust shading. Like if I think, oh well, that actually would have more light or less light. It's like blinds on a window. Like I can just open it and shut it for shading, and so that makes cross hatching like super super easy. You can really go crazy with the blend tool. As you can see, I'm working with just opacity of black. I think that's like 20% opacity, and a lot of times I'll kind of layer that on top of each other. The only shortcut I have that's really beneficial, I think, for that is if you're trying to erase black with like a 20% opacity, it can get difficult because you want like 20% opacity black over white. So a lot of times I'll copy, like I just copy and paste it real fast in place, and then I have a shortcut to make something white, and so that's my eraser. And so I'll copy and paste it, click that makes it white, and then I just eyedropper a 20% opacity. That probably made no sense, but yeah, it's kind of hard to explain some of this stuff because I like my mind is doing it, but it's hard to put it into words, like all the shortcuts you're pressing and stuff. So let's see. I'm kind of getting close to the end. Really here, I'm just trying to keep up with a light source. I know above him and maybe to the left a little bit is where think the light's coming down, and so I'm just trying to get a little bit darker underneath the letters, underneath his hair. Oh, speaking of lettering, one thing I forgot to say, the way I got the multiple strokes around my letters is by using the appearance panel and just layering multiple strokes, and one of the strokes being white. One cool thing that you can do is do a blending mode on one of the strokes, so you can turn like the red from this into like multiply or something, and it gives it like this crazy textured feeling. And you can combine that with just solid red, not multiply, and get like some really cool stuff that I've done in a couple other things. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm just adding little details. I'm trying to make it look a little more like paint, look a little more weathered. I know that there's a lot of like textures you can just overlay with stuff, but I don't like doing that unless it's fine textures, because with big textures I feel like it can affect the feel of things so much. So I like to go ahead and draw as much of that as possible. That way I can texturize some stuff that I want to be textured, but then not other things. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna let the rest of this play out. It's pretty self-explanatory, just adding a little bit more shading to the stuff that's already kind of there. Yeah, I appreciate you checking out the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to be trying to get some tutorials put out, but it's kind of hard for me to know exactly what everybody's skill level is that watches it, or is going to even watch this. So if you want to see something specific, like, just let me know in the comments. Also on Instagram, you can always hit me up if you have any questions, or just want to link up or something. So that's at zcounts on Instagram. I appreciate it, and y'all have a great day.